Hi there, my name is John Stevens. I'm pastor of Zion Lutheran Church in Oregon City, Oregon, and we're part of the ELCA, and welcome to Dollar Store Children's Sermons, where we take a look at the lectionary text and we tie them to an item from the Dollar Tree, from the garage, from your kid's room, the junk drawer, maybe your office. With so many places we can tie them from. Maybe you get to the Dollar Tree. That would be fantastic. But I'm doing most things from home. I'm live streaming from the church, as you probably heard last week, because I was able to record from my office. But for the most part, we're looking for things that are around our homes. So I hope you're staying well and you're staying safe, and know that you are in my prayers. This is for the 10th Sunday after Pentecost, and we're looking really at the gospel lesson, at the psalm, and at Romans, and it's all really following the same theme of seeing, hearing, and responding, stepping out, and it's primarily hearing and responding. So, because in the gospel lesson, Peter sees, the disciples see Jesus walking on the water, they see him, Peter calls out to him, Jesus calls to him, and Peter responds. And then ultimately Jesus reaches out and grabs him in the midst and right in his despair and when he needs him the most. So we have that. Then we have Romans, where there's the conversation about happy are the feet that are sent, and we're called out, and all of this work that goes on with us being sent out, and our feet carry us, and so we hear the word, we hear the mission, and we are sent out. And then the psalm, again, this call and response, seeing and hearing, and lifting up God. So I'm talking a lot about hearing and responding, and then ultimately that conversation that we can have with God. So the springboards I'm using a couple. I'm going to pull them up so I can remember them. I'm pulling the springboards. One I've used before, and this would be a great one to do on video, and you could do it with just yourself, or you could do it with someone in your household, but just yourself. You could set it up. It could either be, so I'm thinking of this, the idea of hearing. It can be a cup on a string, those old-timey walkie-talkies, that you got a cup, string, and I tell you what, the first time I ever used one, and the fact that it works so much better than I thought it would. And so this idea that we have this cup, and we have the string, and we've got another cup attached, and the fact that you can hear through it, using that in the conversation about how do we hear our God, how do we listen to our God, and how do we respond to our God. The fact that these two paper cups and that string work, it's an amazing thing. And just imagine, there's times when we enter into a prayer with God, and we might think, I'm not sure if this is going to work. God, Jesus really isn't going to call me out in the water, and if he calls me out in the water, I'm really not going to be able to walk on it. And it works. What? And it makes complete sense why Peter gets a little scared. He's walking on the water, so we've got that going on. So we've got the cup and the string, and about using that as a way of talking. You could use your cell phone. The idea that there's this wonderful thing that you have in your pocket that it does so many things, and you know what? It also places a call. You can use it as a phone. Can you imagine that? That's amazing. So we've got those two, again, this communication, this talking, and then what I think would really work well with in this conversation and in this idea about hearing and how do we respond and how do we make sure that we can hear the voice when Jesus says to us, get out of the boat, come this way, because we are so often on, kids at school are on Zoom, they're doing distant learning by all this stuff, and there's all of that thing and that fear about when we mute and when Okay, I'm back. We play with the idea of being muted and unmuted and how hard and all this stuff is and how we hear people and how we don't hear people, and then how that gets translated into this prayer and into this listening for the voice of God. When Peter hears the voice, says, Jesus, call me out of the boat. I know you can call me out. And he takes the step out, and about how, playing with that zoom and the zoom, and I said unzoom, the mute and unmute in all of that, about how it is. We really get how sometimes it can be hard to hear, and Jesus helps us and calls us to be into this life of where we listen to one another, where we hear one another, where we and then responding to the call that Jesus does for us. So we've got the cup and the string. We've got the mute and the unmute. The other one I was thinking about, and this is more, I think the mute and unmute one might work the best, but if you watch some films that look at older, I like older America, and I'm thinking even across the world, but I'm thinking the movie that comes to my mind is The River Runs Through It. And in The River Runs Through It, there is a older gentleman that has a big, he's got a funnel, the old hearing aids. And they're running some ads on Facebook now, and I can tell that I'm getting of the age where Facebook thinks I need a hearing aid, where they're playing with different things, with cones on the ear, little futuristic, almost a Borgish type of thing, and it's all to sell a hearing aid that you can barely see. But you've got this big funnel, and you're like, Here's just a side point. That guy in the movie The River Runs Through It, where he's holding the funnel, a friend of my grandmother's. There we go. I don't know him, but my grandmother did. All right. But again, another thing about hearing, about listening, and about how we are called to listen to our God, to respond as we step out of the boat. But that takes that initial step of listening to what Jesus is saying to us. And so I think that, again, coming back to the mute and unmute, the strings. So I mentioned about how you could do the cup and the string if it's just you. Well, you are on video. If you're recording your video, you're on video, you can have one side where you're holding it like this, and then you pause it, or if you're using iMovie, you can clip them together like this, and you've got that string, and you've just got it tied to a chair, so it's taut. And then you stop, you go over, start filming again, holding the other side, and it's taut. And it's just playing. I mean, you've seen it on TV, you know that, and might as well use the idea of being able to film it. So, all right, those are some springboards for you. I hope you can use them. As always, thank you so much for your partnership in this ministry. I appreciate it. Your kids at your church, I know, appreciate it. You are doing wonderful work. Keep it up. Stay safe. Stay well. Stay masked. Love you all. Peace, and we'll see you next week.